we're born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline, I don't know.
Look at armor breakpoints. It might save your life.
I don't have a regular PPC. I have an ultra PPC.
What if we made Jägermech but good? Too hot to handle.
Gunnery is a waste. The almighty targeting computer is here to help you.
Welcome to the Odysseus Legion Podcast. Incoming message.
Hi everybody, I wanted to let you know about Merry Mercenaries, an upcoming event this Sunday, December 28th, 2025, at Cantrip Cards and Games. We will be running some Learn to Play events, 2 salvage free-for-alls, as well as a mini exchange and open play. So if you are near Ithaca, New York, come to Cantrip Cards and Games on Sunday, December 28th. More info on the website as well as our Discord.
Hello and welcome to the Odysseus Legion Podcast. My name is Luke and I am, I guess, host today. With me are Garner.
Hello.
And Nicholas.
Hello.
As backup hosts in Peanut Gallery, we're going to be doing things a little bit different today. Our main topic for the day is going to be talking about battle value, what it is, how it affects your games, and a little bit about the kind of weaknesses and strengths of the system and how you can make it work a little bit better for you. But before then, what have you guys been doing this week?
I have been still trying to recover from the plague that has been inflicted upon me, actually. So, but in my off time, I have been perusing different lists for a couple different things. Was working on a couple Smoke Jaguar forces, one Star League Smoke Jaguar force for Iliad League Invitational that is or I guess technically the beginning of the new year, and then the next one that I was working on was actually an Alpha Strike Clan Invasion Smoke Jaguar list, where I go complete Desgra and bring Narcs and LRMs, because I'm a disgusting individual.
You're a little rat. Oh no, Narcs are fine. Listen, clans use Narcs.
Uh-huh, but I'm using other Mechs Narcs.
I see.
The one BattleTech thing I've really engaged with recently is the sort of ongoing campaign, the RPG thing over at Millennium Games here. It's sort of like my second time actually showing up with a character. I got this guy, Zach, who has 2 special abilities. One is pretty sort of straightforward. It's Light Mech Mastery, which lets me, with a Light Mech, if I run or jump, I can get a 1-point penalty to my attack to gain 2 points benefit to my TMM. So pretty, nice little exchange there. But I'm going around in a Panther, nice little guy with a PPC, standard PPC and an SRM4, 13 heat sinks. He's a 4.64, so not a lot of movement, but it is nice to be able to run in a Panther and build a TMM4.
That's terrifying. Yeah, what?
I can jump and get TMM4 as well.
I really do not like Panther being able to do that. That mech is...
But you're missing the real fun part is I don't have a regular PPC. I have an ultra PPC. I took the ability Rapid Fire, which lets me turn any weapon I use into an ultra weapon.
Oh, I hate this. It's terrifying.
So, mind you, it functions like an ultra, so it jams on a 2 and I can't use the gun anymore. And I still have to make a cluster check, so I can double tap with my PPC and try to hit you for 20 damage, but I still got a cluster hit and 8 up. The next thing I'm working on is Cluster Master. I get a +2 to all my cluster rolls, which does include my rapid fire ability. So, double tapping a PPC on 6 up with a 2 gunnery.
What are you guys doing in this campaign?
I mean, I remember I'm running a fire javelin
Okay.
with Melee Master and that whole tree. And for some reason, the Davian special pilot abilities deal with farting around with initiative order, so I can force other people to move first. Once per game, I can go last.
Oh, that's really funny.
So I'm just running around double punching and then Iron Man vomiting my chest lasers at somebody.
Yeah.
This system is not your standard SPA, special piloting abilities. It's not your normal RPG system. I think Mike found it on the internet somewhere. The guy sort of...
Yeah, Mike found it on the internet and has been like slowly modding it, I believe.
It's not particularly balanced. There's a lot of people playing who seem to be more interested in spending their points on upgrading just their standard stuff, but it's pretty broken if you know what you're doing. And it's insane. Yeah, TMM4 Panther with an Ultra PPC and Javelin Rocket Punch plays with initiative. Like,
Yeah, we have Jade Phoenix at home.
I kicked a leg off of Jenner because once per game I can double kick. And I got into the side arc and just went blam blam, and the leg fell off.
I think it'd be hilarious if instead of once per game, it was you could ultra kick, so you could jam your leg on a 2.
On a 2, it does the mass thing and it just breaks your leg.
Yep, and you still have to roll cluster on your kicks.
Yeah, but we don't need it. We don't need my build to be any more broken than it already is. There's just some really janky stuff that I've been doing. I DFA'd a quick draw off the map. Like, I've just been doing some really dumb things with this fire javelin.
This most recent game, one of my allies I was playing with, he was in a Phoenix Hawk, and he's got jump 6, and he was in 6 hex range of an Annihilator. Just a base Annihilator, who was, Panther and a Phoenix Hawk with an Annihilator on the map. That thing is terrifying. But I managed to convince him, hey, you have a higher piloting, you should DFA. It's like, what? Yeah, DFA it. Because you're rolling on a 6 because of the differential. He's like, okay, he hits it. He gets all, I think, 14 points of damage in a shoulder or something, in the arm, so it wasn't that impactful, but it falls over. And then it falls over again.
No. I see where this is going. It's an Annie.
Right? And so for him taking a total of 14 damage, he dealt 34 damage to the thing. And I get in position, shoot it, I crit knock off its arm through its torso, falls over again, and we managed to combined just destroy this thing. It was just kind of epic to just have him DFAing while I'm ultra PPCing this thing.
Yeah.
This campaign is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. I'm glad Mike is having fun running it by the sounds of it.
Well, no, the thing is that we've got rotating game masters, so like we rotate who's running the op for. So nobody's stuck one way or the other.
Yeah, there's generally, but the few times I've been there's about 3 tables. You have 3 or 4 guest game masters each time. I've been asked to game master for the next one next month. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm going to try to talk to Mike. Give me the high BV table, because they're going to, instead of randomly divide people, they're going to divide people by BV next time, which I think makes the most sense, because some of the lighter people just kind of got uber nuked this past week.
But then the problem is that some of the lighter people also are pilot skills are not accounted for in BV now that since we're in the BV episode right now, and so like my 4-3 javelin is sub 1k BV, and I am removing 2 to 3 times my BV just because.
Special piloting abilities in no system I'm aware of either like do any kind of balancing for BV, because it's very difficult to BV balance anything that's specialized. There's sort of like alternate systems and economies ways to try to do it. Someone's trying to work on a way to BV balance SPAs. There's something I'd look at that and go, it's an RPG thing. Don't try to make it BV balanced. That's just keep it. You're not like, no.
If they wanted to implement special pilot abilities in a way that like would work. I would almost say like you just kind of have to do, I don't know, maybe something like, it's been so long since I've played anything Warhammer, but like the commander abilities that they have in that.
Those don't exist anymore.
Oh, they killed that?
Yep.
Boo. Didn't they fold it into like relics where it's all
Nope.
just like you can... Oh no, they got rid of that too.
Like
Okay.
they did some really weird stuff with, yeah.
Because I was gonna say that like the easy way to do it is just be like, okay, we've cut the table down significantly. And all of these are more or less balanced against each other. You get one, maybe two per force.
So the way that SPAs work in this campaign is that you're limited on your amount of SPAs and which SPAs you can take based on your pilot skill.
Makes sense.
Which was kind of silly for me because I basically double dip my pilot skill. Because it makes me more combat effective, and it makes me more combat effective.
And your faction ones don't necessarily
And your faction
count.
ones don't count against because you were born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline, I don't know. So,
Again, it's tons of fun. It's not necessarily balanced.
definitely not competitive.
We're going to talk about Alpha Strike more eventually, but the Alpha Strike manual having the SPAs and the formation bonuses, and every once in a while seeing someone trying to do a format that includes formations and SPAs. And I just go, no.
I just don't know why there's no value to them. I would love to use them. I just want there to be some value.
Yeah, it's
Something like
and I mean,
have to pay like BSP points or something. I don't care. Like figure out something.
yeah, they do have
No BSPs.
they do have a point system, but also it's one of those things where like combat intuition, and for instance, should be wildly more expensive than it is. Because oh god, combat intuition is one of the most powerful SPAs in the game. For those of you who do not know how it functions, the mech that has combat intuition, I think it's like once every 3 turns or something, gets to have a super special protagonist turn where it is allowed to do all of its moving, shooting, and melee before your opponent is allowed to make any moves.
Yep. But it counts their last turns like TMM and stuff, I think.
Yes, it counts their last turn's TMM, and it does mean that you are incredibly easy to respond to if you put yourself in a bad situation, because if your opponent can just collapse on your one mech. But the kind of result of this is if you have a combat intuition pilot on the field and you know what you're doing with it, your opponent needs to be constantly thinking a turn into the future, and if they don't and they blunder something, you can just decide to snuff it out. It's one of the most powerful abilities in the game, period, and there is no equivalent to it as far as I am aware in terms of mechanics or power in the special pilot abilities. I actually did BattleTech this week because I am now done with my finals finally.
Nice.
So we had, I got 2 mechs done. I finished painting a Argus and I finished painting a Helios, which are both kind of weird, kind of featherweight heavies. The Argus is a Davion special. The Helios is more Capellan and St. Ives. Both of them I'll probably end up using at some point. I also got to do an advanced tech match against one of our local players. That was a lot of fun. I ended up bringing a gunsmith that didn't do a whole lot because he brought a million autocannons with high gunnery. And I just looked at that and decided I didn't want to try shooting into it with a gunsmith. The actual star of the show ended up being my Hellspawn, which will make an appearance later. I want to talk a little bit more about that as a mech, as well as the new Davion Thanatos, the 6T.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, it is in one of the most recent shrapnels. It is a very kind of post-Jihad refit design. It's got a snub-nose PPC, it's got multi-missiles, it's got Case 2. It hasn't been included in the master unit list. Please, Catalyst, include it in the master unit list. I want to be able to use this thing because, oh my god, it is so much fun and it is such a good brawler. But yeah, so I actually got to do things this week with BattleTech, which I haven't been able to do for a while because I have been dying from shul. The main topic today, we are going to be talking about battle value. For those of you who do not somehow know this, BattleTech has had a fraught history in terms of balance. When the game was first published, there was no official balancing mechanism, and the one that was settled on most commonly was tonnage. So
that's not the case still? Crazy.
Well, it is the case if you're a video game player, it seems like, because a lot of them want to use tonnage.
Mm-hmm.
But
the thing, tonnage starts to work again when you are just playing. Everybody can customize whatever the heck they want.
It does to a certain extent, but that's more because of strategic collapse towards clan tech. No. I'm not saying it's a good way to do it. I'm saying at a certain when everybody has access to every kind of min-maxing tool possible. Yeah,
you end up kind of being like, okay, people will exploit BV. The limit is just what you can strap onto the thing. So,
on some point, the other side of that is, we'll get into this, but activations kind of break that. But anyway, the original way that the game ended up getting balanced was tonnage. So you and your opponent both bring like 250 tons of mechs to the field and you duke it out. And this kind of works. It's not good. If you've ever looked at the difference between, say, a Wolverine 6M and a Shadowhawk, any of the Introtech Shadowhawks, which are both 55 tons, you can maybe understand why this is not a great system. Or the Charger versus the Awesome is another example of this. One of these mechs is doing very different things from the other, and as you can see in their new battle values, one of them does a hell of a lot more things. This is a system which works, kind of, for Introtech. Come the release of things like Technical Readout 2750 and the War of 3039 and eventually the Clan Invasion, things stop working well using this as a system. Like, the difference that 55 tons gets you between, say, a Nova versus a Shadowhawk is leaps and bounds worse than between a Shadowhawk and a Wolverine. So something new had to get released. The earliest versions of this were called, I think, Combat Efficiency Score, or I think it's usually abbreviated as CEF, followed by Combat Value, followed by Battle Value, and we are now on the second iteration of Battle Value.
I want to pop in for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did not personally experience, I may have personally experienced this when I was a child in middle school through my distant uncle who taught me BattleTech, but I've talked to some other agents and other people where a early balancing mechanism for play before BV, when clans arrived, Zellbringen was supposed to be a balancing mechanism that was unrelated necessarily to the units, but forced a style of play.
So, I disagree with that as an idea, because the way the Zell rules work is if either side goes weapons free, then the side adhering to Zell gets to stop doing that. Zell would only work as a balancing mechanism if clans were basically forced into situations where they have to pick targets to 1v1 and inner sphere forces don't have to get into that same dueling mentality because they lose the duel too. So
for people at home, Zellbringen is a form of sort of ritualistic honor combat whether the clans supposedly hold by. Now, depending on the author and the perspective and the unreliable narrator, it's either the greatest tool, the honorable warrior, or the easiest thing to exploit for intersphere pilots ever. But in game terms, it comes down to, like Luke was mentioning, each clan pilot would try to 1v1 duel somebody else on the battlefield until one of them fell, and then they'd continue on effectively 1v1ing until the war was over. And that basically, or 1v2. You choose your targets, and whoever was your declared target as a clan pilot, you couldn't shoot at anybody else, and they couldn't shoot at anybody else. And that was kind of supposed to be how you balance versus clans before all this other stuff. And as Luke was mentioning, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work because it depends on interpretation of stylistic gameplay. It doesn't have an objective sort of arbiter at any point, and it did not work well.
So I think the other side of that I have, because I am almost certain the rules for Zellbriggen did allow weapons free at that point.
Yeah, basically the Intersphere player could sort of choose when they broke Zell and try to take advantage of it. And
yeah,
that
it doesn't work. I will say one of the things that I have heard from people who played in that time, because again, this is 30 years ago, this was well before I was born, is one of the ways people would balance would just be depending on the tech level that was being played with. Certain forces would just basically get a tonnage modifier. So clans would get a certain tonnage, Intersphere would get a certain tonnage, Star League and Comstar forces would get a certain kind of tonnage modifier to more accurately go against each other, because you can pretty clearly see there's a big difference in 1 ton for a medium laser that Intersphere is using versus 1 ton for an ER medium laser that the clans are using.
I'm going to throw out there another thing I remember as a child. I fell into liking Clan Jade Falcon right from middle school after reading the Jade Phoenix trilogy. And we played a little RPG game with my cousin and my distant uncle, who was my direct cousin and distant uncle. And we played a match where my cousin got a land air mech and zoopty doomed all over the battlefield, and I lost very badly. And I was not happy about this, and his response was, well, you had something to do with tonnage. And it wasn't until much later in my life I fully realized that, like, oh, tonnage was a very poor way to do this, because if you're talking about, like, the advantage clans have and the tech stuff, he was kind of anti-clan, as it was sort of, except for he loved Clan Wolf. Anyway, Lamb's land air mechs are not, a 50-ton land air mech or whatever it was, a 45-ton land air mech is not the same as a 45-ton other mech at all.
Which is where we get into battle value itself. So I am going to say a lot of things about battle value in this episode, which are going to be kind of unkind to FAFSA, who were, for the most part, the people who came up with the battle value system. And I want people to understand this is a big and very, very, very complex system overall. Building a mathematical formula to determine how good a unit is at fighting on the field without lots of active feedback, and for that system to more or less still work 3 decades on with one major revision is a very, very major accomplishment. However, I do think we do need to talk about the ways in which battle value can break down sometimes. So, what is battle value? Simplest terms, battle value is a mathematical calculation that determines the overall combat effectiveness of a mech, a battle armor, vehicles, what have you, based on how well it can absorb damage multiplied by how evasive it is. And then added to that is how well it can impact the battlefield through weapons, special equipment, multiplied by how mobile it is. Not necessarily its ability to build speed, but its ability to find new positions on the battlefield. And that's the basis of how this works. And a lot of the way that you can mess with battle value or get messed with by battle value are the underlying kind of math of BV relied on a lot of assumptions. And those assumptions do not always hold true. And those assumptions are sometimes completely off of how the game is commonly played. So the biggest one that I want to get into, and this is if you have heard any discussion online about problematic weapons in BattleTech, the first thing you will hear about is pulse lasers. And so the first assumption that I want to get into is how individual weapon BVs are calculated, because I hear a lot of people say pulse lasers are undervalued by the battle value system for what they do, but I do not hear as many people explaining what exactly is going on here. So battle value, again, complicated system, but the actual mechanics of it are fairly simple to understand once you kind of see how they're functioning. The individual weapon BVs are calculated based on the expected average damage of the weapon when fired by a stationary gunner at a stationary target at all effective ranges. So
I think I see a flaw in that thought right at the start.
Yes. This causes a lot of problems. So basically the way that you do this is you calculate the odds to hit a target at range 1 with, say, a medium laser, multiply that odds by the inflicted damage, and then you do this for every range between range 1 and the end of long range, so range 9, and then you multiply it by a static factor. I think in the case of battle value, it is by 1.5 as it stands right now, but you could mess with this if you wanted to do other stuff. Now, like Nicholas alluded to, there's a very serious problem here, which is BattleTech is played on a bell curve. The effect of anything that impacts target numbers of a weapon is going to be incredibly undervalued for normal gameplay by this BV calculation. A -2 to hit when your target number to start with is 4 is going to result in a much lower change in accuracy than if your starting target number is 7 or your starting target number is 11. You will see this with all of battle value, but pulse lasers are the most seriously undervalued of the weapon types as a result.
I love spreadsheets. Surprise. Anybody who has spent enough time with me in BattleTech will eventually encounter, I have a spreadsheet for that. And every time I try to do some kind of factorization of examining the ability and impact of a unit, I have a giant spreadsheet for Alpha Strike where I never imagine two stationary targets shooting at each other. That seems like the stupidest place to possibly start. I always factor in an average TMM or woods or something. There's going to be at least a 2 extra modifier in any shot, basically ever.
Yes. And again, I don't have special insights into what FASA was doing when they were coming up with battle value. I just have sites like Heavy Metal Pro and Free World's Technical Institute, which allow you to effectively recreate the battle value formula for these weapons. My understanding is that their assumption going into this was that you could basically normalize that out by having the battle value of the weapon multiplied by a speed factor, which is the mech's basically ability to gain ground. It's a sum of the mech's highest running value plus its highest jumping value that it can achieve. That, however, because you start out from kind of this flawed position, really doesn't work for pulse lasers, It, to a lesser extent, doesn't work for things like ER pulse lasers and re-engineered pulse lasers with their -1, and heavy lasers and medium-range missiles, which have the opposite, they have a penalty to hit, are actually overvalued by the system. Their battle value is higher than it should be based on this. I did some calculations that changed the target number to 7 as the base instead of 4 as the base a while ago, because I was just kind of assuming you are at least going to be walking or running and shooting at something with a TMM of 1 or 2 is fairly common. And pulse lasers would, under that system, increase by about 40% in cost across the board. That is both clan and inner sphere pulse lasers, because this is also a problem for inner sphere pulse. And weapons like heavy lasers would decrease across the board by about 20%.
I actually know a guy who was part of the conversation when they were building BV2.
Okay.
He's an agent. He's one of my favorite agents to interact with through Discord and other things. I don't think he listens, but Joel, appreciate you. You're a great guy. His major issue as part of the conversations with BV was talking to the people in charge. They wanted BV to be able to be calculated with someone with a notepad and a pencil. They wanted it to be largely calculator free.
So you could do it for custom mechs.
We'll get into this in a second, because there's other issues with the battle value system which come from that impulse. This is below that as an impulse. This is Catalyst today could go change the way they were calculating battle values, update the master unit list site, and then push the change to the Megamech devs. And that would, apart from the fact that everyone's books are outdated, be more or less like there would not be a noticeable change other than the numbers changing to the actual like BV calculation text. This is something that would have slipped underneath that, but this is just one of the issues that battle value has. Another one that you, I think, might see from that assumption of stationary target, stationary attacker is long-range damage in battle value is incredibly highly valued compared to its actual usefulness, as it normally calculates the chance to hit as being about 40%. You would need an 8 up to hit using the assumptions battle value runs to hit something at long range. That doesn't accurately reflect at least my experience trying to hit long-range shots ever. The only weapons that come close to that are pulse lasers, maybe, sometimes.
Yeah. I'll join in here someone as a clan player who plays with clan large pulse on a frequent basis. One of my favorite fire support units to bring is a Cougar Prime, a light mech with 2 large pulse, and quite often my target number is 8.
Yes.
I stand by, you sort of brought this up, you are pretty much always going to have 2 extra points to your 2 hit numbers. That is, maybe you walked and they have TMM 1. Maybe you stayed stationary, they have TMM 2. 2 light woods, heavy woods, partial cover. 2 is pretty universal in terms of an other modifier or just modifiers to your target number. And so 8 at long range with pulse, I've seen that a lot. Yeah. 10. It's almost always at long range 10, unless something speedy, then maybe 11.
So I'm gonna have another L take, but I just want to throw it out there because I want to watch the world burn. What if we turned pulse lasers into precision ammo where you only reduce TMM by 2?
No, I actually think that's an interesting take. I think that would be kind of cool. I think the -2 is, I think the universal -2 is absurdly powerful and should get reined in.
I mean, I agree with that. I hate pulse lasers, but I personally specifically hate clan pulse lasers.
Your hate is not as pure as mine then, because as a chronic user of inner sphere dipshit, which have too many pulse lasers, this is also a problem for inner sphere pulse. I think that if Clan Pulse gets increased in price, Inner Sphere should be going up right along with it, because oh boy, I do know there are a lot of stinker mechs that just slap on Inner Sphere Pulse thoughtlessly, and people do not consider them good weapons. But when you build when you put together an accurately, like a well-built, coherently built Inner Sphere Pulse boat, it is vicious, and it is way too cheap for what it does. Yep.
Laughs in Sagittaire 8R.
Yes. Sagittaire, the Wraith is an excellent example of that. Any of the later spiders. We will get back to spiders in a second, because spiders also have an issue that you will see come up. But, Garner, you asked me specifically when I brought this up as an episode topic if the Snubnose PPC had an inaccurately calculated battle value. It doesn't. What the Snubnose does is it makes its long and medium ranges, which, again, battle value overvalues its worst ranges to be at by reducing damage. The Snubnose PPC, I haven't run the exact numbers on this, but because of its damage scaling, wants to be in its short range as much as possible, and with a 9-hex short range, it's very good at doing that, and so oftentimes it feels like it has a very, very powerful presence on the board. The Snubnose PPC that has lower damage at longer ranges, and very heavily incentivizes you to get into its short range as quickly as possible. So the reason it is so cheap for what it does at it's 165 BV, which is very good for what it do, is because it's making its longer ranges worse in a way that discounts it in battle value. But the actual battle value itself is accurate for the assumptions that the system has laid out. So that's my main weapon rant.
I'm looking at it right now, and the Snubnose is 165, or a regular PPC is 176.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue the Snubnose PPC is one of the best weapons in the game.
I don't think you have to argue that. I think
there's no arguments.
It's so good. 9 hexes of short range on a gun that cheap is brutal. And
the Snubnose is also 1 ton lighter and 1 crit smaller.
Yes, than the normal PPC.
It is just great in every way.
And the no minimum
but
range.
For the purposes of talking about battle value, we are going to ignore tonnage and crits. Those almost never actually matter for battle value.
Which they should, but that's neither here nor there.
No, they shouldn't. So,
yeah, I don't think they should, because that just the combat efficiency just determines, it's an end result kind of thing. And so if you change BV, maybe there's things you could do where, like, if you are stocking up on multiple weapons that interact, it could change things. But in terms of, like, spending a lot of time customizing mechs, you just kind of min-max the loadout, and it doesn't... I don't know. I don't think the tonnage and crit space should matter for BV.
So
changes
how
the end
easy is
result.
it to kill a thing? Let's put it this way: play a Hunchback 4G without ignore the first hit to an autocannon that is in the playtest rules, and then take a crit to that side torso and tell me how well spent that BV was.
Okay, so that's a different part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Because first of all, they have indicated they're going to do like a BV 2.5 based off of, like, after releasing the new book and seeing how play works out, which is okay. But also, they do have things like ammo in certain locations will adjust your final BV. There are things as part of construction that do change it. For individual weapons, it just feels like, okay, more guns that you can fit equals more BV. So it just kind of works itself out in the end.
Yeah, so I will say the one place where I do agree with you, Garner, is the idea of crit padding is not something that battle value accounts for right now. Heat sinks in battle value are actually free. They do not add BV to a design at all, but there is no differentiation between what a 1 crit single heatsink and what a 3 crit inner sphere double heatsink does for a design in terms of preventing critical hits. So
True, but it doesn't even take into account, though, like, an empty side torso, does it?
that is one of the major issues, is the only thing that battle value takes into account currently is there specifically explosive crits in a location, and are there engine crits in a location? It does not take into account mech construction in any, like, crit allocation and armor allocation in any way that's more advanced.
And that's why I think that, like, I don't know, a standard engine with nothing in the side torsos should count as having an engine in that side torso, because if you crit, it transfers.
Yes. Well, it should count
neither here nor there.
should count for less, because side torso destruction doesn't destroy the mech, but it does still do. Crit transfers are not something the system currently accounts for. No. Anyway, my point that I was trying to make earlier was, if a snub-nosed PPC was forced to exist in a world where battle value is calculated using a target number of 7 as the base instead of 4 as the base, it would go up by about 20%. Because, again, those longer range brackets are being currently overvalued. It would go to about 196 BV, which I think is more accurate with its actual impact on most games. Anyway, so that is kind of weapon BV. Battle value only accounts for very specific interactions between components, like targeting computers with direct fire weapons, fire control systems with missiles, and engines with explosive components. It does not account, as Garner said, for broader interactions of whether or not locations have critical components in slots that can take them. It also does not consider armor breakpoints whatsoever, simply maximum armor. Synergies like targeting computer plus pulse and jump are another thing that are not considered by the current version of battle value as well.
Yeah, interactions like that definitely should have a factor.
Yep. There are also
targeting computer VSPs. Woo!
You know, I was thinking a little bit about your suggestion, Garner, about making pulse function like precision ammo, and honestly, a relatively simple mechanical change would be to, you know how individual weapons have tags, you know, like a cluster weapon, a rapid fire weapon, and all, you know, energy weapon, all the, you know, just, you know, the R or whatever next to the name. Add a P. Precision.
That exists already.
Fine.
Yeah,
well,
that's
whatever.
why my re-engineered lasers were limited at Southern Assault.
Well, add whatever it has to be. That all of these weapons, so you have your LBs, you have your pulse, you have your VSPs, they just have a, whatever you want to call it, you know, tag, a precision tag, that they get a -1 to the target's TMM, -2 to the target's TMM, -3 to the target's TMM.
Yeah.
And just the TMM. And suddenly you have a universal system of modifiers that are less impactful and function, and it makes sense of, oh, you change the ammo on your autocannon, and it gives it that tag.
I do like the kind of idea that raises of, you have precision -1 for heavy laser.
Anti-precision.
Yeah, listen, it just rolls under, where it's like, yeah, you have the, yeah, you add
and the
to
MRM.
your targets, you add to your targets TMM. Playtest got rid of the MRMs.
I've never used an MRM.
I've tinkered with them. They're really funny when you get like an MRM 30 and then you blat someone for like 24 damage on a low roll, and you're just like, that's how it be. But it takes a bit of doing to get there. Garner, you mentioned VSPs. VSPs are a special case here because, as some people who have looked at battle values have noted, VSPs are very good. Not even just like pulse laser good, they're just straight up broken. And when I say broken, I mean their battle value is calculated using only their long range damage.
What?
So for the purposes of battle value, so the medium VSP has 9 damage with a -3 at 2 hit at close range, 7 damage with a -2 to hit at medium range, and 5 damage with a -1 to hit at long range. For the purposes of battle value, the ranges and modifiers are correctly calculated. However, the only way that we can come up with a value that is close to the right ballpark is the damage for the weapon is calculated at 5 at all ranges for the battle value calculation.
Yeah, 56 battle value,
Yes.
while an ER medium is 62.
Yeah. Or I think a better one to compare it to is the Inner Sphere Pulse Laser, which is 48 battle value. Variable speed pulse lasers, aside from all of the pulse assumptions, their battle values are straight up incorrectly calculated. This is, again, something that Catalyst could, in theory, change tomorrow and basically just errata all of the battle values of all variable speed pulse laser using mechs to fix this.
Yeah, it feels like that might be one of the weapons that they've actually looked at the crit space and tonnage for. Because I'm looking at it as like, wow, that's 56. It's like, oh, it's 4 tons. That's a heavy weapon, but you don't care about that when you're balancing a force by BV.
You don't care about that when you're balancing a force by BV. You also don't care about that when you have a Spider 9M and it's delivering 2 9-point hits into the rear of whatever it finds because it is a -3 to do it, and it's jumping in with a target movement modifier of 4. That's you don't care about crits or tonnage at that point. It's the weapons are just incorrectly valued.
Yeah, and it kind of there's been some complaints that VSPs are, for the most part, stuck in advanced level rules world. Only a few of them exist in standard rules in the Ill-Clan era, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, they're a serious problem child. I do think I would like to see them get more play, but I would like to see them get more play with accurately calculated values, because as is, there's something wrong there, and whatever it is, it's probably something that can easily be fixed. Now, as for the other thing to keep in mind here is that,
wait.
Oh.
It's 10 BV more. 10. Only 10 BV more than the standard Inner Sphere medium laser.
Yeah, the Inner Sphere
deals almost double damage.
Yeah, the Inner Sphere medium
with a -3.
So, Nicholas, the Inner Sphere medium pulse laser is 2 BV more than the standard Inner Sphere medium laser. That's people ask me why I think the Inner Sphere pulse needs to get hung at the same time Clan Inner Sphere pulse does. That's why. All pulses borked, variable speed pulses very borked. Now, as for the other thing to keep in mind with battle value is, again, the core assumptions of the system were built for the clan invasion. This was, oh no, we screwed up the balancing mechanism that most of our players were using, and now we need to come up with something else. And so anything that has messed with assumptions that were true during the clan invasion tends to be less well accounted for in the system. Variable speed lasers are one example of this. Another one is improved jump tech. Jumping movement is factored into a mech's battle value in a couple of different ways. It changes the target movement modifier that calculates your defensive battle value, but it also messes with your offensive battle value, which is multiplied by something called speed factor, which is calculated from a lookup table. This is, I know, Nicholas, that you said something about like not using calculators. This is one of the places where they give you the formula, and this is a formula you could only do on a calculator without the lookup table. But the number that you plug into it is a sum of your highest running speed that you can use plus your maximum jumping MP. Now, this works fairly well at the expense of screwing over a couple of designs which double dip on movement enhancers and jump jets, like the Shadow Cat.
Yep.
However, it means that part of the balancing for jump is your base walking speed, because jump is actually weighted as lower value than run MP. I think the actual formula is your full run MP plus half of your jumping MP rounded up. And as a result, any mech that can find a way to get a jumping speed that is higher than its walking MP ends up getting undervalued if they want to constantly be jumping. So good examples of this are going to be things like the Jade Phoenix A, which is a kind of serial battle value abuser, despite the fact that it's over 2,000 battle value, or any partial wing mech, really, or any improved jump jet mech, which is using a 5/8 movement or better as its base, and then going up to 8 jump. Special armors are also kind of weirdly accounted for. Most of the special armors are double the battle value of regular armor because they allow you to have the damage of one very specific type of damage, with one notable exception, which is ferrolamellar, which is 20% more expensive because the minimum damage reduction from ferrolamellar is 20%. And that is across the board, and ferrolam can go all the way up to 100% damage mitigation, which is, I believe it is the only damage, it's the only type of damage reduction that does that. So, like I said, there are some later era techs which just screw with battle value in ways that it cannot accurately comprehend.
Yeah.
So, all that being said, I do have some tips for looking for good mechs for their price using battle value. The biggest one that I have is find a mech that has a strong game plan that doesn't leave expensive pieces of equipment out of that, like, not in use for large chunks of time. Or if you do, find ways of mitigating their costs. So I think a good example of this when it goes wrong is the Blackhawk Prime, which has 12 ER medium lasers, Clan ER medium lasers, and it can comfortably shoot maybe 8 of those. It's also one of the most expensive medium mechs in the game, at 2,600 battle value, almost 2,700.
I love that you brought that mech up, because I was literally just thinking about what would I recommend to people. And my first thought, reading through some of your ideas here, was like, also don't be afraid of heat.
Yes.
Because something you didn't cover was that weapons you add to a mech above the mech's heat threshold have a BV discount. And so in certain mechs that do this well, particularly if they're bracket firing, or they have if they can't fire all of their weapons without gaining some amount of heat, they're gaining an advantage in some percent off of their BV, and it can be very useful for alternate fire, for certain mech designs to use that.
Yes.
But some units take it to extreme, and even with the BV discount for that on that Blackhawk, it is just stupid.
Yes. So yeah, the way the heat discount works is if you take your most strenuous movement mode, you use that. So in the Blackhawk's chase, you jump 5 hexes, and then you start a counter of how much heat you're building. So every weapon that you can fire and you're under 0 heat does not get a discount. Every weapon that you can fire and you're under, I think it's 6 heat, does not get a discount. The one that takes you over 6 heat doesn't get a discount. Every weapon after that gets a discount. And it goes from highest battle value to lowest battle value. So you can't cheat by finding some very high heat weapon that's very low BV somehow and sticking that up front. So in the case of the Blackhawk, you are only getting the discount, and it's 50% off. So in the case of the Blackhawk, it's your lasers are 54 battle value instead of 108 battle value. You're only getting that discount on 4 of the total 12 lasers. And in most cases, you want to probably... 8 lasers is manageable, but you're not going to be happy about it in a lot of cases.
Regardless of the BV, a unit that can, when it finds itself in an advantageous position, overheat and to give a little extra firepower.
Yes.
Don't be afraid of using the heat scale every once in a while.
Yes, the heat scale is good. Do not be afraid of the heat scale. Also, bracket firing is most of what the overheat bonuses are meant. The overheat discount is meant to account for, which means if you have a mech which has distinct range brackets, like a long range bracket and a short range bracket, that you are pretty disincentivized from firing at the same time. For instance, the Stalker is a very good example of this.
Warhammer.
Yeah, Warhammer a little bit less so, but yeah, sure. So like the Stalker or the Warhammer, or to an extent the Loki, but the Loki is
a bad choice.
Yeah. Like, it wants to be there, but it can't because it's spending like 1,500 battle value on a pair of ERPPCs that can only occasionally fire.
I want to throw out there, we talk about how originally games were balanced by tonnage, and that is the only way the Hellbringer makes sense.
Yeah. Right?
Because if you look at it BV-wise, it is under-armored, can't fire everything without just running into ammo explosion issues and everything. It's not good BV-wise, but if you look at it 65-ton mech to 65-ton mech, oh boy, that thing can be terrifying.
I don't know, man. I feel like there's some catapults that could give it a run for its money, but that's also just like I wouldn't want to be in the catapult in that fight. There's a lot of fights I just lose on the spot there. But yeah, so don't be afraid of heat. Look for range bracketing specifically is very well accounted for.
One more interjection. I'm sorry, I have to throw those out there about my double tap PPC character.
Mm-hmm.
Hit 24 heat the last time I used him when he was trying to take out the Annihilator.
Oh, that's...
He didn't shut down, he didn't ammo explode, he managed to jump away the next turn, but when you have 13 heat sinks and you can build 27...
Okay, I feel a little bit less terrified by that double tapping PPC now. If you have to pay the double heat for it.
You have to pay the double heat, so between the PPCs, the jump, and the SRM4, it's 27 heat, it sinks 13. So builds 14 heat every time it does this. Now, you can alternate, you can also Ultra SRM4 and not build heat. But that's not quite the same thing.
Ultra SRM4 is...
I love it.
Beautiful. Yes, my
new... question is, do you roll on the Cluster 8 table?
Yes.
I have been rolling... I rolled a hit, then I roll for the Ultra Cluster, and then I roll for the clusters. Because the idea is you shot the weapon twice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would consider them almost two separate attacks, except for you cluster hit instead of the old school ultra roll twice.
Yeah. It should be cluster 8, I think. Officially, but we haven't had a cluster rapid fire weapon yet. Battle armor will break that at some point, I'm sure. Heat is one thing. The other thing to keep an eye out for is matching weapon range and mech speed. So this is something that Goonhammer has ranted on to an extent, and this is, I think, a good point to make, which is, again, battle value very heavily values long-range weapons. Battle value also very heavily values high-speed mechs that can reposition themselves quickly. If you mash these two things together, long-range weapons that don't need very tight positioning to be effective on a mech that has very high speed get expensive very quickly in battle value. So if you are looking for mechs that are worth it for their price, you should look very skeptically at any mech that mixes a long-range high-damage weapon with high speed. That's not to say that they are always worthless. We will get back to this in a little bit, but it is something to consider.
My example later is perfect for this.
Yes. Inversely, short-range weapons need good positioning to close on stuff, and while they do tend to, again, be less expensive just because battle value very heavily values range, if you put them on a short-range mech, you better have a way to get the mountain to come to you in a given fight. Otherwise, it is just going to be wasted battle value for the most part. If you have an Irby that is sitting on the back line doing nothing, then sure, it's cheap, but also it's not doing anything for you apart from giving you an activation.
Also laughs in Sagittaire Adar.
Yeah, Sagittaire is a little better for this, and it's got some weapons it can poke you with from range.
It has one.
It's got some pulse lasers on it. It's got some large pulse, doesn't it?
It has 2 large pulses, but they're inner sphere large pulses, so they're not real.
That's 10 hexes of range.
Woo!
You can poke out and bully people at that range still.
10 hexes, that's almost the short range of a snub nose.
Yeah, it's 10 hexes, and it's only a -2 out at 10 hexes.
So it's effectively a medium range.
Yeah, it's
anyways.
Other big thing to consider here is looking for obvious weaknesses are not a bad thing in mechs, but you need to have something to mitigate them. So the easiest and biggest of these is going to be extra light engines. I know a lot of people are scared of the extra light engine. And on one hand, yes, having an inner sphere engine that will kill your mech dead if you lose any of your 3 torso sections is a really great way to lose mechs quickly if your mech is slow. If it's fast and you're using that extra tonnage it buys you on nice things like lots of armor and lots of engine size to avoid taking damage in the first place, then that extra light engine, not only is it good for you in the other things it's brought you, extra light engines actually give you a really serious battle value discount. They reduce the total value of your structure for the purposes of defensive battle value by half, which in any mech that's larger than like medium size is going to be a discount of about 100 BV or larger, which is significant. The other one to keep in mind is obviously avoid mechs that have weird armor breakpoints. Battle value never considers armor allocation onto any one particular component, so oftentimes there are mechs you will find which have weird armor distributions which do not protect things as well as they should. I think one of the best examples of this is the Phoenix Hawk 1, which has 6 armor in the head. Means an inner sphere large laser crits you in the head, and a PPC or an AC-10 will kill you dead in one shot. Does it get any discount for the fact that some of the most common weapons in the game can screw you over incredibly quickly in ways they otherwise often don't? No.
Is there a BV calculation for weapons that deal 12 damage in terms of the head capping ability?
Yes. Any weapon that deals more than 12 damage has an additional modifier added onto its price, which is its price is increased by 20%. And that is applied to every weapon with a battle value of 12 or with a damage value of 12 or higher.
So if you are piloting a mech that has less than 12 head armor and total health, you are effectively giving a 20% BV bonus to anything shooting at it by that metric.
Not really.
Not anything, but anything that could head cap it.
If you go down to 11, then the only weapon which you're in danger of getting murdered by at that point is the large variable speed laser, and we've talked about how variable speed lasers are kind of nutty already, but...
Go down to 10, go down to 9.
Yeah, going down lower, it starts to cause problems very quickly, and that's an easy one to solve for 0 BV if you just find a version that doesn't have bad head armor. Same with rear armor. So one of the things that Garner brought up earlier, the Hunchback 4G has very thin rear armor over both its autocannon and its ammunition for its autocannon, so it can easily be killed by a single 5-point hit to the rear. Now, this is harder for the Hunchback 4G specifically to solve because the 50-ton mech only has 12 points of internals on its side torsos, which means you can only have 20 points of armor in the front to absorb an AC-20 shot, or you can have more than 4 points of armor in the rear to absorb a medium laser shot. You can never have those two characteristics at the same time because armor is always double what your internal structure is. However, that serious weakness is not considered by battle value at all, that a common weapon can just bust through your armor. So you need to think of that one on your own. You can't just look at the mech as given and go, this is good.
As someone who frequently likes to play with fast, lighter mechs, I will say that the break point here, and even in a match against Garner, this really came up where a unit with 10 armor across multiple locations can survive an AC-10 or a large laser hit and not crack armor. You know, it's easy, but you have 9, things get bad. Or a lot of mechs will have 10 to 14, light mechs will have 10 to 14 armor at a bunch of location, which means Gauss rifles, which hit for 15 and have long range, are really, really good against light mechs.
Part of this comes down to internal structure. It is physically incapable for a mech that is not using specialty armor to mount enough armor in its legs to be Gauss-proof until 35 tons. Because that is the point where you get 8 structure in your leg, and that's the point where you can mount 16 armor.
You know what kills my Cougar mentioned earlier a lot? A Gauss rifle shot to the leg.
Yep. It is 35 tons, but they didn't armor it enough.
I mean, that's also a shot from downtown from a hardened armored Caesar, so...
So those are a thing that you cannot look to BV to solve for you, but you need to think of yourself. Look at armor breakpoints. It might save your life. For the second part of the episode, I asked both of my hosts to come up with a couple of units that they think are worth it for their BV, and a couple of units that they don't think are strictly worth it for their BV, but add something to a list that they like.
So I mentioned that some of my favorite picks here really highlight some of what Luke was just talking about, which I think I'll jump into here. So one of my favorite units to bring, that I bring a lot, is an Incubus 3. Incubus, also known as a Vixen. The Incubus, it's a 9-14, so it can walk 9, run 14, very fast 30-ton mech. And the 3 is armed with a Streak SRM-6, its sort of prime big gun, 2 medium pulse lasers, and 4 machine guns. This matches a lot of some of my favorite units in that it brings a whole bunch of guns that are on the medium to low scale in terms of general like BV and weight. And that makes them a lot more efficient because like what Luke was mentioning, this is a fast guy. He can get into the range he wants with his weapons and find a position. He can build a TMM to probably exchange favorably at certain ranges. The primary version of the Incubus has a clan large pulse laser, followed by 2 ER medium lasers and those same 4 machine guns and it, it's not heat neutral, number one, and it's 1,900 something BV. The Incubus 3 is 1,000, under 1,400. So you're paying at least 300 BV more for not effectively more damage. You are getting the pulse, but you don't need that large pulse over the, you've got 2 medium pulse, which is effectively more damage for the pulse, right? You can choose your target. You don't need the large pulse on that unit for that much BV.
The one that you were thinking of, by the way, is so that the standard Incubus is a hair under 1,600. The Incubus 2, which is I think the one you were thinking of.
Oh, the 2 is the one with the clan ERPPC.
It has an ERPPC, which fast sniper is more than 1,900 battle value, and then the Incubus 3 is 1,324.
Yeah.
So
at 1,324, you can bring it as a 3-gun refi piloting for still less BV than the large laser one.
Yes.
And it is beautifully effective. You have a combination of the machine guns and the SRMs. You have 10 2-damage hits that you can possibly get on your target. It is a fantastic crit seeker.
I think going through kind of a list of things, it has relatively short-ranged weapons. Granted, it's clans, so most of its weapons can reach out and touch you at 12 hexes, but relatively short-ranged weapons. Good speed, and it has a very consistent game plan it wants to do, which is go behind you, knife you in the back for 2 7-point hits, and then have a total of 10 2-point hits that it can follow that up for to find internals once it's opened your rear plates. Also, the armor breakpoints on it are good.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. The armor breakpoints is 10 on the left arm, left torso, and right arm. Sadly, only 14 in each leg, so a Gauss rifle still messes with it, but that means it can take a inner sphere PPC, autocannon 10 hit, a large laser hit. It can take hits for most inner sphere main guns.
Yes.
And, in each location. So if the damage is dispersed, can be very durable.
Yes.
It is a mech I really enjoy using.
Can be very durable. One of my most memorable experiences playing BattleTech was triple hitting one of Nicholas's incubi in the center torso with PPC shots from an awesome that just rolled high, rolled sevens, and just pulled it off in one hit.
Oh yeah. Mech Warrior aim, it's the balsa wood or titanium thing. If you get a Mech Warrior aim on something and you hit just the same spot, you can just wreck a mech.
Yeah, the Incubus 430 tonner, it has the maximum number of armor pips that can be allocated, and they're smartly allocated. That's your good mech. Garner, do you have a good mech for us?
Good mech. All right. The Jaeger Mech 7 Double D.
You've played this more than I have. I don't think I've ever used this thing, Garner. Can you explain the horror we're looking at here? Because this is a machine. This is a good mech.
This is a disgusting mech, especially because people look at it and think Jaeger Mech, glass, surprise. What if we made Jägermech but good?
Mm-hmm.
So, it is a mixed tech Jägermech. Has a pair of Clan Ultra AC-10s, a pair of Light AC-5s, a pair of Inner Sphere ER mediums because they wanted to save money, I guess. I don't know. Weird. Moves 4/6, which isn't bad. It's got an XL, but it's got case 2 in both torsos where it stores its ammo. Has enough ammo to fire every gun for 10 turns. Enough heat sinks to continuously shoot every autocannon, including double tapping the ultras, and still sink heat on a run. The lowest armor value it has is 22 in the extremities, 24 in each side torso, 34 in the center, and then 6 armor on each rear torso. And you get all this for a bargain bin. Oh, it also jumps up to 70 tons from 65. And you get it for a bargain bin 1,690 BV.
There's a lot going on here, and I think
It does have an XL gyro. I did forget to mention that.
I was gonna say this Jägermech. It's not as cheap as it could be. They could have given it normal case, and it would be way cheaper. However,
but case 2 keeps it alive.
This
with
is
the
true.
Inner Sphere XL engine.
This is true, and I think that is one of the big things with this is the Jägermech here is the big thing that it is benefiting from is those XL components are giving it some pretty nasty discounts in terms of price. So let me do this out real quick. So
it can take 2 Gauss rifles to the CT and still not go internal. Like, it's nutso. Love this thing. God, it's so good.
Yeah, so the XL gyro and the XL engine are giving it 115 extra BV to play with. Yeah, so Garner, you are essentially, from your XL components, you are essentially getting 140 battle value knocked off the top of the price on this thing. And for that, like I said earlier, that is a serious weakness. You have way too many gyro hits. You have way too many engine hits. However, the case 2 is protecting you from catastrophic internal structure loss, and it's AC-20 proof in every front location. That's really solid for a 1,700 battle value mech. The weakness is good here, but it's been smartly compensated for, and I think if you look at most rec guide mechs, and I believe this is one of them, you will see that a lot. A lot of them are kind of very smartly built, and this is a good example of that.
So not just an AC-20 hit in these locations, right? As a sniper, someone who's going to be standing off at long range, it's going to take 2 Gauss Rifle or Clan ERPPC hits in any location to get internal. So you have to hit the same location twice. It'll take 3 10 damage hits to get to the internals in any location, right? So when you're exchanging long range fire, this thing is just gonna out durable anything in its BV price range for the most part.
It does very favorable trades, especially because it's got 2 bins of that light AC-5, so you can take
specialty ammo,
whatever specialty ammo you want, and still fire for all 10 turns without running dry.
Yes. For mine, I want to talk about, I've used it a lot recently. I want to talk about the Hellspawn, and specifically I want to talk about the Hellspawn 10G, because I love this thing to pieces. It is such a weird little dork. The Hellspawn is, as kind of an archetype, is kind of a missile and laser boat. It's supposed to take a little bit after the Dervish. Most of them have a kind of a ground speed of 6 and 9, and they can jump 6. They have some LRMs, and then they have some lasers, medium pulses, or ERs, and some electronics package along with that. The Hellspawn I want to talk about today is the Hellspawn 10G. It is 695, which is a very, very weird movement profile. It has asymmetrical jump jets. However, its weapons profile is very nice. It has a pair of multi-missile launchers with 7 tubes each, which means you get 7 LRMs out of each of them, or you get 7 SRMs. It has a light PPC, it has 2 medium pulse lasers, and it has enough armor in the legs and all of the torso locations to tank a Gauss rifle hit and not go internal. It's also just a hair under 1200 battle value, and for that, I think it is pretty good. This is another mech where it's using a lot of its components a lot of the time. It's either at long range firing at you with the multi-missiles as LRMs and the light PPC, or at short range it's using those very cheap medium pulse lasers alongside the multi-missiles again as SRMs to inflict some nasty critical damage. It has a lot of armor for a 45-tonner that is spread out pretty intelligently. It takes at least a punch to get through it. And also, unlike Garner's example of an XL mech with case, this Hellspawn is carrying 3 tons of ammunition, so it can do some goofy things with alternate ammo types for its multi-missiles, but also that means it is deeply discounted as a result. So anytime you have explosive ammunition on a mech, it reduces your defensive battle value rating by 15 for each ton of ammunition, and each ton of ammunition for the Hellspawn with multi-missile 7s is 8. So the ammunition is effectively negative BV on this thing. It also has an XL.
I was gonna say, I was surprised you went with the Hellspawn and not the Rakshasa 1AR.
So I thought about the Rakshasa, because the Rakshasa is another really great example of this, but I just played the Hellspawn the other day, and I was really vibing with it. I love the Rakshasa, but it's a little bit similar to what you came with.
I mean, I'm looking at this Hellspawn. I look at this thing and I go, this isn't like a hero, but this is something that's just so solid.
Yeah.
It is for this much BV, this thing does not have to do a lot of work to pay for itself. And it is capable of doing a lot of work.
It's capable of doing a lot of work, but the other thing with it is it's capable of doing a lot of work in a lot of different phases of the game. Because it has, and this is one, so aside from the fact that the Rakshasa was kind of the same type of mech the Jaeger mech is, the reason I like this Hellspawn is because the Rakshasa, because it has snub-nosed PPCs as its main armament, wants to get to 9 hexes and hover. This Hellspawn is much more comfortable hanging out at range, causing some issues at range, and then much more fluidly transitioning into being a backstabbing cavalry mech later in the game.
I'm looking at this and thinking about how someone always asks me if a mech is good or not. And I just say, okay, what are its friends?
Yeah.
You can, like, a mech is good, oftentimes good or bad depending on who or what it's partnered with. I look at this guy and I think, this is a friend to everyone. Yes. Right? It's not fast enough to be like your main like fast objective guy, but it can go and like occupy space as a secondary friend following behind. It's fast enough to be in a secondary position with them. It has pulse. It can operate as a defender to something heavier and slower than itself. Yep. It has jump. It can maneuver across the battlefield and basically it's fast enough to, and has jump. It can be where it wants to be to help a friend. It's that guy who is always there.
It's a great social butterfly. It's also, if you want to do some anti-conventional forces action, that 3rd ton of ammunition for the multi-missile launchers means it can bring Inferno missiles. Or, if they let you, smoke.
No, nothing should let you bring smoke.
Okay, yeah, no, smoke is very powerful, but it does let you bring...
I'm fine with smoke.
Does let you bring Inferno missiles, and in that regard, it is very good at locking down big things that it's chased down. It's very good at killing conventional forces very quickly. I love this thing to pieces. I've used it a couple of times now, and if it's had a bad day, it's cheap enough that I'm just like, I had other things that did work. you did more or less what I wanted you to do, Hellspawn, but when it does work, it's nice. So, all right, so that's some of our good mechs for battle value. How about some mechs you like, but also, oh god, the battle value does not line up for you?
I'm going to go with here my go-to favorite example of a unit that I want to use, but I never can really make it work because of its battle value, and that's the Shadowcat. The Shadowcat is a 45-ton mech. It's an Omni mech, it's a clan mech that defaults to 6-9-6. So 6 walking, 6 running, 6 walking, 9 running, 6 jumping. But it also has mask, so it can actually run 12. And so, as you were explaining before, you combine the running and the jumping to get a modifier. And this thing, I'm going to open the BV breakdown, has a speed factor of 2.3.
Yes.
So all of the BV for its guns is more than doubled. And it ends up being just so costly. The one I've tried to use a few times is a Shadowcat A at 2,220 BV. It's armed with 2 ER large lasers, an active probe, and a Streak 6. I've made it work for forces in Mega Mech. It's not really done well for me in actual physical games because it's so much BV. It's more BV than that Jaeger mech.
Yes.
By a lot.
It's a lot less survivable than that Jaeger.
It's a lot less survivable.
Even with the XL gyro and XL engine and...
Right? We're talking about this thing, it's 2 large guns, the A, the one that I think might be usable, has to hit that Jaeger mech in any location 3 times to break armor. That Jaeger mech taps this thing twice anywhere, and it's internal with its main guns. And it can hit 4 times in one turn with those big guns if it rolls lucky on the ultra clusters. This thing is incapable in any one turn of breaking the armor. It only has 2 guns. It needs to hit 3 times. And it's significantly more expensive. So that Jaeger mech could be brought at a much higher gunnery to just snipe this thing down.
Yep.
As cool as it is, it's such a cool looking mech. But it's not good. And the Prime.
Oh, the Prime. The Prime is...
Let's pull up the Shadowcat Prime here. The Shadowcat Prime, right, for 2,156 BV, roughly similar, has a Gauss rifle and 2 ER medium lasers.
Yes. Which that's a lot. It's a wretched little creature for what it does, and the exact speed factor it's working with is if it could use its speed over land, it would be the equivalent of having a 10-15. That's how its MP is considered.
You know, it has a 10-15 movement speed that a unit that I love, the Devil.
Yeah, and a head cutter.
I'm going to pull up the Devil here and we'll make the comparison, right? So a unit that I love because it's a little obnoxious kind of guy it's called Devil. It's the Devil. It is a 30-ton mech with 10 walking, 15 running, a clan ERPPC, and a targeting computer. This thing is a nasty little bastard, right?
Mm-hmm.
For 1,691 BV. Less than the Shadowcat Prime. And arguably more effective for a similar mission profile of Gauss rifle versus PPC. This thing has a targeting computer. So you could bring this thing at, like a 3 gunnery, at least 2 gunnery for the same BV. I mean, it's lightly armored.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. Okay. Here's something I've just noticed on the Devil that makes no sense whatsoever at all. This boggles my mind. Okay, this mech Its targeting computer is in the left torso.
Yeah.
Its PPC is in the right torso. It has nothing in its arms.
Yeah.
Each arm has 10 armor. Guess how much armor is in each of the left torso and the right torso?
8.
Yeah.
8. The locations with the equipment have less armor than the equations without equipment on this thing. I don't understand.
They needed to give it a weakness. It was too powerful.
Well, think about it also think about if that's correct or not too. Because remember, there's the one record sheet for the Axeman with the 4 light AC5s with a target computer in the right arm. Or in the left arm, excuse me. And the case was on the record sheet in the left torso with all of the ammo in the right torso.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even
Check your sources, folks.
Yeah.
Check
So
your
just-
sources.
I
No,
wouldn't.
I think this is-
I don't know. I don't trust anything after I saw that mistake. Or I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. Are they afraid of the ammo exploding, transferring all the way to the left arm, and then they're trying to save the targeting computer?
So
And then I realized that it was just an incorrect record sheet.
the Highlander has a thing where it has case in a torso that has Gauss rifle ammunition, but it's to catch the Gauss rifle if it explodes.
Yeah, Shadowcat.
Not-
Cool looking unit. Chicken leg, walker, big gun, nice little cockpit with these giant vents on the side. It jumps, it runs, it's fast. And if it was just cheaper in some capacity, it would be so useful. If it didn't have mask, if it was a 696, it would be a perfectly useful medium.
Yes,
I
or
think.
if it just had jump jets, but it hard points them both.
Just mask, just jumps, excellent unit. Both garbage.
And Garner, what do you got for Bad Mech?
I had a couple different ones, but I feel like we kind of went over. My issue is just anything with double clan ERPPCs, especially with targeting computers, or supercharger / mask on assaults.
I'm gonna have the pushback take here, which is
You like your Hellbringers?
the Hellbringer isn't the thing I'm looking at. The go get a record sheet for the Kingfisher C. I think the problem with the clan ERPPC is, I said earlier we're not going to talk about tonnage that much. This is the problem with the clan ERPPC. It's so flippin' light that it gets put on a bunch of very, very fast mechs, and so it is very easy to end up in fast sniper town as a result. The Kingfisher C is a pair of ERPPCs, a quartet of ER medium lasers, and then a giant mountain of armor on a 4.6 assault mech with a standard engine for about 2,600 battle value. And it can snap off everything it has in its arsenal at only movement heat built. It is a deeply, deeply, deeply mean unit. The problem with the ERPPC is the speed factor,
Yeah.
not the gun.
Yeah. Well, two problems I have with the clan ERPPC, which is number one, speed factor, because not only is
It's put on fast stuff.
a very expensive gun to begin with, right? Because it's got the head chopper, it's got long range and everything, but the speed factor will often make it a unit with absurdly expensive, right? Talking about the Incubus, which I'm gonna
Adder. I'm just saying double, like the
the
Adder.
Adder, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh
the
my
Adder is a good
God.
example.
The perfect example.
Perfect
As
example.
target
Yeah,
computer,
we'll talk.
2 ERPPCs, and an emotional support hard-pointed flamer.
Yes.
And
Though
not enough heat. We talk about heat too. That's the other problem with a lot of these units with smaller units with double ERPPC. They often don't have the heat to handle firing both guns.
Too hot to handle.
Yeah, the problem with the ERPPC for clans is not the battle value. The problem is clan mech techs are very stupid and put it on fast mechs that do not need it, and then have enough tonnage to get themselves in trouble afterwards. It's very much kid out with his parents' Amex card hours for mech design.
So there's a period in BattleTech history. I don't know what the game designers were thinking about this, because it makes no sense mechanically, but you know how I've played with my Panther? You know, the 4.6 Panther, 13 heat sinks and a single PPC so it can jump 3 and fire it and not nuke itself? Well, once the Helm Core went around and clans came and they decided, oh, we have new technology, we can swap things out. There's a better version of the PPC, the extended range PPC. It has more range and no minimum range. Let's just swap it out. It's the same tonnage and crit space. And suddenly you have a Panther that still has single heat sinks, that still only sinks 13 heat, but its main gun builds 15 heat. And I think the clans, as descendants of the Star League, somehow had the same, a freaking similar thought of like, hey, we built this. It would be really good if it was using regular PPCs. Let's strap the ER versions on it. If you look at the Puma, you look at the Adder, and if you look at it and think, oh, replace those 2 clan PPCs with standard PPCs, oh my gosh, that's actually a really good mech.
So
but with the ER, it's kind of shit.
So I think the thing for the Adder is actually, I don't want to go into the lore too much because I think this can be a little bit overbearing, but the Adder is actually a very late design Omni-Mech. It's from after the year 3000, and I know the Panther you're talking about. This is the Panther 10K. It's fluff bunny reasons why there's differences. The there was like internal conflicts within the Luthien Armor Works over which divisions were allowed to get the limited supply of double heat sinks they were given, and the Aerospace division won out. So the Combine's main military manufacturer for mechs did not get any significant number of double heat sinks for its battle mechs for a while after the clan invasion, and it took some finagling, so that's why you have a lot of mechs like that. The Adder is, I think, the kind of fluff bunny answer for why it's built the way it is because if you're playing clan Zellbriggen rules, turns out killing your opponent dead when you got good aim means you don't have to worry about that heat, because the heat is a problem for after the fight, not during the fight. And if you're trying to rank up quickly, murdering a bunch of other clanners in your ostensible light mech with your pair of head-cutting targeting computer enhanced guns is a really easy way to get rank. It's built as a duelist configuration. But yeah, I do agree with you, Garner, that the problem clan PPC can become an issue, but the issue is more when the mech tech's eyes are too big for their armoring budget.
I don't always know if it's the mech tech in these cases. Particularly for the clans, I feel like it's the clan warrior making the decision to build a silly thing. Might be something similar in some regards of like what the Intersphere thing I was talking about earlier of like, give me the better gun. You this makes no sense. Don't give me the better gun, but you can't really use. No, give me the better gun.
Sometimes, listen, there's a reason Omni-Mechs. There's a reason they decided to go for Omni-Mechs so that they can quickly remedy goofy ass decisions.
We're just thinking about if my guy my Panther pilot suddenly got a different Panther and tried to ultra the ER.
Yeah, just instantly blew up.
You should instant shutdown. Wonderful.
Yeah. So I want to give my example of Seraph.
Oh, the Celestials?
Yes. So the Celestials, on the whole, like, I think some of them can be a little bit goofy, but I think the Seraph is an example of a mech where I look at it and I go, man, this looks really cool, and then I look at it, the way it's put together, and I just start scratching my head. So if you are not familiar with the Seraph, it is an 85-ton Word of Blake assault mech. It is an Omni mech, and it has hard-pointed triple-strength Myanmar.
I love it.
It looks so friggin' cool. The TSM is a cool idea. Base speed, 3.5. Goes up to 4.5.
4.6, sir.
Sorry, yeah, 4.6. The weapons it has on board, oh boy, it loves ammunition for some reason, and it is so close to ammo cook-offs so often. The problem with triple strength Myanmar is it gives you that speed boost, and it calculates your total speed based on that. And admittedly, for the Seraph, it's not adding that much to you, but it is adding something, and you aren't really getting a whole lot back for it in this case. Especially when you add in, it also has improved C3, and that can get expensive very quickly if you decide to turn that on. So I look at this and I just go, this looks so cool, but the heat management is so weird, and I know I'm gonna have to, like, try hard playing this for an extra point of speed. Why am I playing this? Whenever I look at this thing.
Yeah, it's slightly more expensive than that Shadowcat.
Slightly more expensive than the Shadowcat, and the gun situation it's better, but it's not appreciably better.
Armor, though. It's got armor.
It's got a lot of armor. Its base kind of characteristics are confusing to me, and maybe I'm just not thinking it through well enough. Especially, the other thing it has is a small cockpit, which is a piece of tech that we have not discussed before.
Yes, we have.
Well, we haven't discussed it for the purposes...
Prey Seeker, baby!
We haven't discussed it for the purposes of battle value. Which, in this case, a small cockpit gives you a 5% cost discount on your entire mech. It basically treats it as if you had a piloting score of 6 at the expense of all of your piloting skill rolls are 1 worse than they would be otherwise. It also means future...
An inverse targeting computer.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a piloting computer.
Piloting head thunk.
Yeah, the downside to this is if you reduce a mech's skills below their base value, it applies a smaller discount than the tax it would require to get a better skill. So the move from piloting skill 5 to piloting skill 6 gives you a smaller, like, the change is smaller to your total mech's battle value than if you decreased your piloting from 5 to 4. So if you try to buy back to piloting skill 6, and this includes through things like Mani Domine implants, because they just count as battle value, basically, you are always going down in that trade. So you better be happy with that worse piloting skill, and if you're bringing a triple strength Myanmar mech, you probably aren't happy with a worse piloting skill.
It's for the extra movement speed. It's not there for the retractable blade. What are you talking about, dude?
Oh no, it never for the retractable blade. It's definitely a mech that I would like to play with Word of Blake stuff, but some of the designs, they look cool, and then I try to figure out how I would use them, and it's just like, this isn't making sense to me.
I mean, if we're talking about the narrative behind some of this construction, I mean, in-universe, I don't know what the in-universe stuff, but when I talk about BattleTech and talk about BattleTech lore, I don't think of it as a history. I think of it as a story. I think it as, because it's something that someone wrote. And
yes.
whatever the in-universe explanation for a lot of these mech designs is said to be, the Word of Blake is a villain faction. It is
Yes.
a faction that's meant to be an opposition force in a campaign. And when you look at that unit, if you look at that guy in that light and see it as this, you're not supposed to play as it. You're supposed to go against it. And it makes a lot more sense there.
Sure, but at the same time, we have the battle value for these things, and it's just, I look at it and I just go, eh.
In a lot of campaigns, in a lot of these things, you're not always thinking about the battle value.
Mm-hmm.
And things can be played a little bit more fast and loose. Because if you're a game master planning fights against your oppositional force, it's very different.
Yeah, sure. You're right that if I'm looking at this from purely, like, I don't think anyone, like, if you've played Dungeons and Dragons, there's not many players who are, there's not many DMs who are strictly balancing based off of, like, XP budgets for parties. And if they are, it's for very specific reasons. And I think in that case, yeah, it makes sense why, but it doesn't stop me from looking at this and going, damn, I wish this was maybe a little bit more coherently built or a little bit cheaper, which is kind of the whole point of this episode. Like, there's...
Yeah, we're a competitive BattleTech podcast. So,
and again, there's something, or I guess another example of this is there's a Marauder Capellan's built, the 6L.
Well, that thing has 2 plasma rifles and a PPC. That's interesting.
No, that's not the one I'm thinking.
And TSM.
The 5L is the stinker.
5L's the stinker. Yeah, 2,244
they're both
BV.
the stinkers, because look at again, you get the cost of going to 5.8, and you get a kind of unhinged weapons loadout that you can't really handle, and then you also get stealth armor.
What? Oh my god. So stealth armor gives you a bonus to being hit at various ranges and 10 extra heat.
Thanks, Liao.
Yes.
And this is a mech of the 5L. Has 36 heat sinks. Its weapons combined, I mean, just its long range weapons, 24. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
39 heat. 49 heat stealth sniping.
Yep.
Builds 13 right off the bat.
No, see, here's what you do, though. Is you alpha strike, pray to not shut down, or you turn off your stealth armor. You have your stealth armor off, you blast, and then, if you don't shut down, turn your stealth armor back on and hide somewhere while plinking with the PPC.
Actually.
Well, the problem there is you've got 2 inner sphere ER large lasers.
Yeah, those are the worst weapons in the game.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If they're not the worst, they're one of the worst. Because 12 heat for 8 damage is...
The heat to damage ratio is atrocious.
Don't be mean to my boys. Listen, I found acceptable ER large laser mechs. This is not one of them. This is
I
one
found
of the
acceptable
worst.
ER large laser Clantex.
Let me put it this way. I'm looking at this thing at 2,244 BV. I might still take stealth armor is weird, but I'd probably take the Shadow Cat over this.
Actually, the 6L is even worse, because I when I initially did my pass, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is the stealth armor one. They're both the stealth armor TSM one, and the 6L. So one of the things, again, these are both triple strength Myanmar mechs, and one of the things you need with a triple strength mech is easy ways to build 2 and then keep at 9 heat if you want to use it. The Marauder 6L
has 3 10 heat weapons, and that's it.
And then a 10 heat system, and then it just has messing around with the number of doubles you have and choosing whether you walk or run, yes. It's so bad, and it's 2,300 battle value.
So the funny thing is, I was looking at this and go, oh, 30 heat, 3 guns, 10 heat each.
Yeah.
You know, stealth armor, you just turn it on, you don't fire one of the guns. It's manageable. And then it's just like, yeah, but the TSM, you can never use it.
Yeah.
And you're paying for it.
I mean, you can. One game, I was playing against one of the local players, and my Scarabus ran up behind his Masakari, and he arm flipped his Mastakari and blasted the laser arm off my Scarabus. So then I'm like, all right, end phase.
We're gonna start turning
shut off 8 heat sinks.
Exactly.
And then I just had to run, and I'm like, and here's the problem: I have to continuously run. I can only use running movement now for the rest of the game.
Yeah. So the reason why the 6L has the setup it has is because if you Alpha Strike with all of the heat sinks on and the stealth on, you go up to 12 heat, and then your TSM perfectly negates the -2 movement point penalty that you would get from being at 12 heat. Show of hands, do we think this is a good use of 2300 battle value?
Yes, I do.
You're paying extra for it. Take out the TSM and take out the stealth, and just give it like 32 heat sinks. And like, this is bad.
Yeah, but
No, I'm fine with it because then you can do some heat sink shenanigans to get down to 9, and then you're golden, pony boy.
You just walk a couple of turns. But yeah, so the other thing to keep in mind here is because of the way the heat discounting works, none of this Marauder's guns are discounted.
Because stealth doesn't count.
No, stealth
Actually,
does count.
Oh, does a stealth heat count, though?
The weapon that takes you over your 6 heat limit doesn't count, is the problem. And because it only has 3 guns, it's that final, I'm not sure which order it applies them in. The PPC is the gun that takes it to 30 heat. And as a result, it takes it over the threshold, and so that's the one that counts.
You know, if you think about it as, I'm in a firing position, I'm going with stealth armor, I'm going to Alpha Strike, go to 12 heat, my movement is now the exact same, I'm going to hide stealthily for a turn, and then next turn Alpha Strike. It's kind of the land version of the jumping heat mech.
Yes. On one hand, yes. On the other hand, it is 2300 battle value. And most of its weapons have a short range of 5.
Still fine.
I would still take that Shadow Cat over this thing.
Yeah, it's like, listen, you can get yourself in so much trouble with stealth armor. Because the other thing to consider is stealth armor makes it so the triple strength Myammer makes it so that its maximum TMM is technically 3. And then stealth armor increases that for defensive factor by +2, because stealth armor just flat increases your TMM for the purposes of determining your movement factor. So this thing is costed for its defensive factor as if it had the ability to hit an 18 hex run in terms of defensive factor.
Yikers.
So yeah, it is very expensive for no reason.
Definitely, without a doubt, without any pause or consideration whatsoever, take Garner's Jaeger mech over this thing.
Yes. Yeah,
the
Jaeger mech houses this so bad.
The Jaeger mech houses like everything, dude. I outtraded a gunslinger with that thing.
Oh.
But yeah, Listen, I love Liao. Sometimes they come up with good mechs. This is not one of them.
Like the Menshen OF?
Oh god, if we want to talk about...
That's the double snub one that I'm going to be using in Solaris?
If we want to talk about good mechs, oh boy, the Menshen is good for its battle value.
Yup.
Because I know, Garner, you also threw targeting computers in your list of hated characteristics. Targeting computers are a weird piece of tech because it gives you a gunnery upgrade effectively, but the gunnery upgrade only instead of applying to the mech's entire battle value, it only applies to the weapons it's applicable for. Which means targeting computers are actually more efficient for getting it's the same modifier as a gunnery upgrade of 1, so going from 4 gunnery to 3 gunnery, but it only applies to the guns. It does not apply to your defensive TMM. It does not apply to your defensive BV. It does not apply to your missile weapons or any of the other nonsense that you have on board, that like machine guns, which don't get counted in. So it is very, very efficient for increasing your effective gunnery if you can.
Again, laughs and Sagittarius 8R.
Yes, the Sagittarius, good mech. But the Menshen is another one where it's fast, it has a targeting computer, it has snub-nosed PPCs, which, as we discussed, are very efficient weapons. It does have a mask system, which mask means it counts the same as having a max run of 12 all of the time, which the Menshen very much doesn't, but everything else about it makes up for that fact. And being able to hit a 12 hex run on a pivotal turn in a mech as tough and as fighty as a Menshen is so nice.
I would like to say that target computer isn't on my hated components list. It's that targeting computer double ERPPCs specifically, clan ERPPCs specifically.
Yeah, your list is just subtweeting the Puma and the Loki.
Yes. Precisely. Mechs that I want to run, not even like because they're good, I just want to run them, and they are nigh unplayable.
You made a good argument for, well, I won't say a good argument, you made an argument for using the Loki.
I mean, the Loki is just a distraction, a long-range distraction card effects.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where if you don't try to deal with it, it will just pick you apart.
Yes. Very slowly,
then,
1.5 PPCs at a time.
True. Actually, does it have foot heat sinks? I might be able to go 2-2-1 if it's got foot heat sinks. I didn't check that.
No, it's got B-pods in the legs.
Even worse. Loki, my beloved.
Actually, wait, no, it has A-pods in the legs.
Not even. Stop making it worse.
It has 4 A-pods.
Stop making it worse.
Actually,
at least it has an anti-missile system in the head, alright?
Yeah. Actually, not only does it not have heat sinks in the legs, the Loki Prime does not add heat sinks outside of the engine.
I mean, it does have 3 engine heat sinks. Thumbs up.
Oh, that's such a wretched mech. It's one where it is getting heat discounts. You wouldn't know it looking at it because those PPCs are just so expensive. So yeah, that is my rambling explanation of some of the flaws with battle value and some of our examples of mechs which, oh god, are worth it, and some of them which I would not touch.
I believe it's public that they're talking about, because of some of their changes that's coming up in the new book, reevaluating battle value. They have said not battle value 3, but battle value equivalent of 2.5. Oh, I have heard, it's not recorded, so I haven't gone back to confirmed, but supposedly Ray Arastia has said during a conversation with Big Red during a live stream that the side torso changes are out.
Yes.
And supposedly so are the case ones. Don't make me mad.
I'm not trying to make you mad. I bring this up because A, those were horrible changes.
Yes.
The side torso was horrible changes.
Yeah, the side torso
Ammo
was horrible
explosion,
changes.
good change.
But
yes.
If they're evaluating BV, CGL right now is doing some good things and doing some things I hate. The thing I've hated most recently is out, so okay. I'm concerned a little bit what they might change, because regardless of its, well, not regardless of flaws, even with its flaws, for the most part, BV is okay. You know, if two people have a similar experience of knowing what they're doing and either playing in a format that is considerate of, you know, making up for some of the changes, BV can generally work very well. But yes, Pulse and some of the other things. I hope that they take some things into consideration and know that, like, most people are not building custom mechs by hand anymore. Most people are not designing mechs by hand. They can make things a little bit more complicated and integrate with any of these digital platforms that let people make things.
I think one thing that I should point out is none of the stuff that we have gone over here is new or groundbreaking. The flaws with battle value have been well known and well documented for going on 2 decades at this point. And I think my kind of wish list, and I understand this is going to rub a lot of BattleTech players the wrong way, because one of the things that oftentimes I hear kind of mooted as a good thing about BattleTech as a system is how infrequently it changes. I would be very interested in CGL taking a more active role in curating battle value more frequently and making updates more frequently, because as shown with the playtests, like the current rules writers at CGL are not afraid to break things. They're not afraid to implement significant changes to the game, and a lot of the changes they have coming up are going to have significant changes to how BV functions. As Garner lamented, they're getting rid of their changes to case, but one of the current ways that BV discounts mechs is, regardless of whether or not you have case, if you have 3 engine crits and an explosives in a side torso, you get a discount for that. That discount, if those changes had gone through, would have probably had to change. So they're gonna have to change quite a bit about BV. And I would like it if they became more willing to mess with the formula as a result. Because things like like the variable speed lasers, having a BV that is in error for 2 decades is not acceptable stewardship of the game. That's something that they could have easily changed, and I think that's something that, going forward, I hope they do. But it's a thing they can work with.
So I don't want to go the way of Games Workshop with their balance patches 2 to 4 times a year. Like, that is petrifying to me, because it's really nice. People are still getting confused with BV 1.0 versus 2.0.
And I'd have to throw in here, part of my issue with the playtest packet and things that are happening is a lot of the design intent behind changes are to correct feels bad moments. Talking about how people feel bad when certain things happen and correcting that in ways that are not like good for balance mechanically. There's an emphasis they have on campaign and narrative play, and it's an interesting factor. Like, the way I'd phrase it is, making the game better for a narrative does not always make it better in a competitive gameplay sense. Making the game better in a competitive gameplay sense almost always makes the game better for narrative and campaign play.
I think we can look at Warhammer and what they've done in the past couple editions, and we can say pretty conclusively that that's not always
That is false.
Well, I have no experience with Warhammer, so
they basically sanded off a lot of the interesting edges of the system in favor of like quick access and homogenized rules, basically.
Okay, all right. Well, also, I just don't. That's Warhammer.
Yeah,
but it's a war game. It is a war game.
Yes, but I think it's tournament. Yeah, like there is like a happy medium, but I think there is a position that CGL, if they wanted to, could arrive at that is in between battle value effectively being like a used but like developmentally dead system, which is the current status quo that we're in, and kind of constant Games Workshop reshuffling of the deck chairs.
No changes in 20 years,
Yeah.
maybe bad.
Yeah.
4 changes a year, definitely bad.
With kind of modern technology, I think there are a lot of players for whom, if you were working closely with the kind of the devs, with the Megamech team, and you were working closely with, and you were more actively updating the Master Unit List website, you could do a rollout of a more responsively patched battle value with relatively low disruption. It would not be no disruption. I am sure there is some sicko who is out there in deepest Michigan, writing all of the battle values for their custom units down on stone tablets. But for most players, I think there is a way they could make this work, which would be better.
Personally, I know they're trying to appease people by calling it BV 2.5. I think whatever changes they make, they should just call it BV 3.0 so that people who want to stick with BV 2 can keep it.
From my understanding and from their communications, whatever battle value changes that we are going to get, I would expect them to largely be representative of the mechanical changes to how units function in the new rules that they are going to be releasing next year, plus hopefully changes to a couple of problem objects, like, for instance, variable speed lasers. I don't, as much as I would love them to do it, I don't think they're going to change the underlying kind of assumption that leads to pulse lasers being broken. But I would love for them to do so.
And I think my last thought would be a concern about if they change battle value with just the new mech book out. What about vehicles and combined arms? Are they just going to keep it as BS? What is...
They're BSPs now, dude. Accept it.
So...
No.
So if they're going... Because they've said they aren't going to be changing BV with the initial rulebook, correct?
Yes.
So my guess is what they are going to do is they're going to put out a new edition of the tech manual. Because the tech manual is what has the actual explanation of how the calculations work for battle value. So my guess is what we are going to see this new mech manual comes out. I know they've said it's not a mech manual, but they
try to say it's a new Total Warfare. It is not a new Total Warfare. It's new BMM. It's the new Battle Mech manual. Period. There's no argument.
We will get this new version of the Battle Mech manual. We will get a combined arms book at some point, and then we will get the tech manual. And I'm guessing that will basically keep its current form factor as the construction handbook for all units split between those two, because most of the people who are interested in doing unit construction, I think, are enfranchised enough players that they are going to continue to use combined arms, and it makes more sense to have unit construction be a single centralized resource instead of splitting it up between mechs and everything else. And I think that is where they will put any new changes to battle value. Is we will be getting a new tech manual under whatever name it goes by. So that's where I would expect a new battle value to come from.
Well, thank you for hosting today's episode, Luke.
Yeah,
thanks. I still don't believe you about Inner Sphere being undercosted, but that's fine.
It's not.
Range opportunity cost.
Yeah.
It's real.
Thank you so much, Luke, for hosting.
Yes.
Thanks always, Garner, for joining in, and I look forward to talking to you guys again soon.
All right. Good.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Odysseus Legion podcast. This podcast was created by the Odysseus Legion, a BattleTech club organizing play around Central and Western New York State. Rules for all of our formats, as well as a calendar of Odysseus Legion events, can be found on our website, odysseuslegion.com. All music and audio in this recording was licensed through Adobe Stock or open source. All views expressed herein are those of the person expressing them and do not necessarily represent the views of the Odysseus Legion, Catalyst Game Labs, or the Catalyst Demo team.
Nothing needs to be said other than I'm an idiot.